Welcome back from the commercial break. Today is a Saturday Day education that we desire for Uganda, and we are concentrating on this topical discussion, improving the labor industry sector, looking at resolving labor industrial actions for best performance and education institutional stability. This topical discussion emanates from the recent laying down of tools, what is referred as industrial action by the UNATU on 15th June 2022. And we continue to look at a number of demands cited in their document, which I have been able to access to, written on 14th, that was regarding the government to have not attended to their concerns, and they believe that it's unfair treatment and it's unconstitutional for them, especially they are agitating for increment of their salary. But while looking at the lot of unions, we were also able to come up with a question, as we're building on the first session of our discussion, that should salary increment demand be the only cause for industrial action by educationalists. I happen to be a national vice chairperson of the University Professional Academic Staff Union, which is under the umbrella together with the COF2. And this is a labor union umbrella coming together. But I am able to recall that part of the objectives of for instance, of the union, the PASU, of which I belong to, they don't only look at salary increment. They consider issues, especially as per the objectives, to promote respect and observance of workers' rights, and also to engage other stakeholders in matters relating to workers, human and people's rights, as well as in national policy formulation. And one but not least among others, to engage in research of pertinent issues and bring them to the attention of stakeholders through seminars, workshops, symposia, and conferences, including also publications. I've mentioned the three, which I'll continue to refer, because we want to compare notes. Because the government, especially the public, aided institutions, they are worried that every other time when unions raises up concern, another time for getting maybe a high increment salary, it is their only major central concern. As a matter of fact, in private schools and private institutions at a higher and a lower level, they tend to even limit space for formation of such unions, much as it is a constitutional right.
Yes.
But they limit space because of worry of such kind of demands that may not easily be achieved. Dear viewers, while giving that background in mind, we'll look into that later, we were developing on a subject matter in regard to, even if salaries are increased, the salary increment demands are met by the government, especially for government-aided secondary or even tertiary institutions, but the performance seems not to be matching with the increment. And some observers, including myself, tend to be, especially have identified according to the reports as per every academic year, the private funded schools at primary level and secondary, their performance has always emerged better than the government-aided schools. But for a point of emphasis, our dear guest,
Yes.
it is regrettable. Some of our first world schools, we who were, of 1980s, 1990s, when we were going for secondary, those schools which you could say, I want to go to Kigezi College Butobere, that is Kabale. Now, the current generation, you no longer go there, and yet this is the school as per the national budget, is funded very well. So it is a paradox, and we would like, as we go on, to see how this can be solved. Paying salary increment is good, but the government aided the schools and our teachers for both sciences and arts, we seem to be, not solving a certain dilemma in terms of having a progressive education sector, of which my emphasis is, it should be known to every one of us that it is the role of the government to provide a service. Education is a public service that should be provided by the government. The coming in of the private sector is just equal to a partnership under a liberalized economic setup, of which shouldn't be the case to hand over a public service good to the private sector. You are welcome once again. You had reached on internalizing into this subject matter, which is important for the viewers to know how are we going to harmonize and streamline this situation.
Yes, let me pick it from where we had stopped. We are talking about, you raised an issue that private schools perform better than government schools, besides the payment made to teachers.
And I was emphasizing, I'm not cutting you short, I'm emphasizing even some private public schools, which were first order schools, most of them, they have collapsed.
Well, to start with that one, I think one of the reasons why these schools are collapsing, I think it is a management issue. It is more of a management issue. I don't want even to call it administration issue. Those two are slightly different. Administration is supervised. Administrators are supervised by managers of the school. Who are the managers of these schools? We tend to see schools that are owned, that are religious-based. They continue thriving because management is done in some way. Now, these ones which are not religious-based have a challenge. And they have done one thing which we have observed of recent. They have tried to weaken the hand of the OBs and OGs associations. These associations no longer have power over their schools. Doctor, I can give you an example. You yourself, a school where you studied, you wouldn't wish to see it collapsing, would you?
Not at all.
So if you are put as part of the managers, maybe the management, the board of governors of that particular school has representatives from the OBs and OGs associations, would you allow that school to collapse?
Not at all.
So I think that one is a simple issue to solve. It has to be, government has to take deliberate effort of strengthening these associations to make sure that slots are created specifically for OBs and OGs at management level of these institutions. The board of governors, there should be 2 slots at minimum for representatives from the OBs and OGs associations of these schools. I am sure that one is going to save us that embarrassment. Because a school like
Jezi
College Butobere, you have mentioned,
at the same level with the Buddha.
Even me, while I was growing up, it was really one of the powerful schools. Anybody would love to go to. But now when you hear the stories in news and media, you really feel like crying. So, but I think, because there are OBs, and it has powerful OBs, by the way. But I am sure these OBs are not given
But to me, I'm not diverting the discussion, and you are going to continue from where I had reached. Me, if I was an advisor to the Minister of Education, you would do what we call an overhaul.
Yes.
An overhaul of management, as you've said, but in respect also to what you've said, to involve in those who understand the culture of the school and who have the passion.
Yes.
And that overhaul, I could want to see now the teachers, okay, the 50% of the management and the teachers of Budo, we take them to Kitovu or here Budo, and then we get the other ones also, we take them the other side,
Yes, but the ministry has always done that. It transfers teachers and teachers regularly.
Maybe they don't do it
But
strategically.
and that one, but it is a short-term solution by the doctor.
Strategically and conditionally.
Yes, because
we take you as a headmaster
Yes.
to Kigezi College Butobere. We give you, half of the kind of teachers or managers you want to manage with. And after 1 year, you don't want to produce us better results. We demote you to deputy because you are the manager, head teacher, you are the manager, your role is spelled out.
That one is against the law. You will not demote somebody who
But
already has
performance, if we are paying you like how we are talking about
maybe
salary
what you
increment.
have brought, doctor, transferring them, giving them new challenges, and then maybe, but having strong supervision is key, because some people will reach there and do their own thing. Even when you take them the other side, they will take now these failures from here to the other institution, and it will end up. That's why you see some schools, especially these religious traditional schools, they don't entertain everybody as a teacher.
Let's come back here to the point. As we come back to the point, and I'm systematic in our discussion. We pay you 4 million.
Yes.
You are in a school called, let's say, maybe Gombe. And as you pay 4 million, you have all the equipment. Again, if like as you said that we need to have the OBs there, if suppose I'm an OB and I'm on the board, the teacher in charge for physics will continue to get only 70 credit. Why can't really performance and increment should match together?
Let me come to that. I will come to that. However, let's not miss this one.
Okay,
Let me clarify on this.
Okay,
the issue of performance between private schools and government schools.
Yes, please.
I do not want to totally agree that the private schools perform far much better than the government schools. Because we have seen, actually, when we are to go to see which schools perform far much better.
But
the first 10.
We want to go together.
The first 10 will be government schools.
You have said far much better.
Yes.
But can we agree on without fear of favor that better, if I don't use the far much better, can you agree that it's better?
And I want to also demystify that better you are talking about.
Okay, come on.
Because I had earlier pointed out the issue of competition. And then we talked about grades versus skills. In private schools, majorly people focus on grades. Why? They want to compete, they want to advertise. It is one challenge we have been having. A P7 pupil gets 4, aggregate 4, they get such a fella and put on headline of a national newspaper. Can you imagine that? Then senior 4, you find they are fully on headline, first page of a national newspaper. What information are you projecting? You are simply telling the other private school in Kaveramaido that please, you must also get good grades for you to come and appear here. What will they do? They will start competing. They will start looking for exams, teach students questions, answer, question, answer, question, answer, and they forget the other bit. Because education is supposed to be holistic in nature. You don't want to focus at pulling a grade out of a learner. Because for us teachers, we are trained in such a way that if I want grades from students, I will know how to manufacture them and I will get them. But as a teacher, is it what I'm trained to do? I am trained to help in transforming this young one. To pass through an education system that will transform them holistically and make them ready and better to face the challenges of life. Because a distinction in chemistry, when you don't have the skills, is meaningless. You have seen majority of the graduates. Recently, they asked me a question about that why are these engineers not making roads? Why is government? I think I was one of the shows. And the programmer...
We are still importing...
asked that you science teachers, you want government to add money for you. But you say you are producing scientists, engineers. But these engineers, government does not even trust them. It does not give them the jobs. You look at the roads, construction, they look for these companies from China, elsewhere. Look at these big buildings. Now I say that one is actually a big issue. but it cannot just be addressed by government choosing to give that they should like.
I have a question for us on that very point. Now that you are talking about skills, so like from senior 1
Yes.
to senior 4,
Yes.
do you assure us the new curriculum and your agitation for the new skill? You can get that a senior 4 leaver to come and maybe operate this machine here because we are dealing now with IT technology. Yes. Or I have a challenge with the vehicle. Can that senior 4 from your school of the government, let me call it that way, those who are teaching in schools, be able to help me when I have an issue even of tie and fix it?
You see, at that level, it may be too early for them to engage in such. It's on the issue of the vehicle special. But these ones of handling these machines, simple machines, because one thing we are going to actually ask government to do is that immediately a senior 4 student finishes in this new curriculum, then they should be taken for some hands-on in institutions, for example, factories, these professional bodies, where they can put this into practice and get more skills, hands-on now. Because for us, in training them, we are taking them through this curriculum, we are training them critical thinking, we are laying a ground for these skills, but we need them to go and practice them. Because at secondary schools, I do not have a factory where we are going to produce soap. However, we have a laboratory where I'm going to teach these students how to produce soap, and we shall produce it. But when we produce it, I want these students to move out and express these skills and show these skills. And so these are the factories we are talking about. We need this industrial placement, even at senior 4, by the way, before they go for A-level. That's how we shall be able to get the best out of this curriculum. Immediately after senior 4, send them to some internship, industrial placement, factory placement for 1 year. Or 6 months for senior 4. They return, go for A-level. After A-level, take them back. Then they go to university. By the time these students reach university, our focus shouldn't be finishing to get the degree. But the focus should be on what are we going to be able to do after these degrees we have got. So if I could finish this also.
Yes.
So because I see it is still a challenge. So we want to ask, when you come back to government schools, the approach is different. Because we do not only focus to grades, but we focus at transforming the learner, having more of these skills. Because if I'm a government school, if I get 30% first grades, 20% second grades, maybe 40% second grades, and then the rest third grade, you are not going to parents will still bring their children to my school because they trust.
There's some realities which I don't want you to cover up. I will mention a school. Uganda Matters. Namugongo.
Yes.
You find, I send there a kid, I mean one of either my daughter or son, and the score at senior, let's say senior 6, it's 8 in 8.
Yes.
Whether it's science, whether in arts, that one you're sure. When you go to that is senior 4, 8 in 8. Then 22, 20, is it still 20 or 22?
20.
So get 20. Those are grades. 20. And is going to get a scholarship
at the
university. And the truth of the matter is going just now go to the university. I want you to assure to the viewers, if you were you, will you go to someone who is having 10 and then the assurance even of the skills which you don't know, and again you go to pay in a private school? But
are you sure that in government school they don't get those grades?
No, I'm asking. Because if you were the one, because we are talking of the private schools which gets grades.
Yes.
And I've given you an example of one, and like out of 40, 20, they have their 20 in, they have everything. So now, if we were you, now I'm going to I have my money, you pay yours 3 million, 6 million. Am I going not to look for this school, which will now take away the burden of paying school fees? And I say these are the ones who are teaching.
Of course, that's the norm we have created, and therefore parents will opt for that. But have you taken, we want also experts to do research and understand how these students, I'm not talking, because you mentioned about Namugongo, but I'm not specifically referring to the products from Namugongo. I'm now generally looking at the whole private schools. When you look at these students at university, when they reach there, how do they perform? Those from government vis-a-vis private. What about when they finish their degrees? How do they perform in the field? You will discover that at the end of the day, the systems in which they passed, the culture, has an effect in the long run. They will have the grades, yes. We have had scenarios where people have come out with first-class degrees, but they can't deliver. They can't perform in the different courses. Haven't you heard about this? But the thing is not coming from university. But this person has been through a school system for 7 years at primary, 4 years O level, 2 years A level. Those are how many? 13. Plus like 2 pre-primary. Those are 15. And you are sending this person at university for 3 years.
The viewers and myself, they are not in a contention that there is a need of grades, of skills and grades.
Yes.
But what I know, even if I have not talked to everyone that is following us, how can we strike a balance to have both? Because the truth of the matter, we need both.
The new curriculum.
And the truth of the matter, you will not only tell me skills, even when I don't know that you have improved my kid with the skills when the performance is low.
This is research not published. Find out.
Yes.
And the nation will discover. But the clear solution which we have got is the new curriculum. And that's why we are asking government, let this curriculum be implemented the way it has been designed. Let it be facilitated. Let resources be available. Let the teachers be motivated. Let the supplies be there. You will see the product. And let supervision be there. Because we need both government schools and private schools to implement this curriculum in the same way. So then the other issue was the performance of science is still low.
Yeah, we are dealing with the best performance and we would like to have it the best performance. All this, you've talked about the salary increment, we have agreed, and all other factors that favor, the teacher or any other laborer.
Yes.
All that provided, which assurance do we have that we shall have best performance?
The assurance is, there are many factors that determine performance. Of course, motivation is one of them, which of course is both internal and external. By giving teachers more, enhancing their pay is part of the motivating factors. So that one obviously will improve productivity. Number 2, when these equipment are brought and everything is put in place, it means one of the things that is going to happen is that these teachers are going to concentrate on their work. So concentration is going to improve. And when they concentrate on their work, it means they are going to give more time to the learners. They are going to invest more time in research. We have been taking much of the time into running around to schools to make ends meet. You pick 300 here, you pick 500 here, then you add the 800 of government. You already have 1.8 million. You can now pay for a house, pay school fees and all this. You understand? But now that the government has combined and brought this fund and given it to the teacher, there is no need to moonlight and run around.
Before you go to the increment of 4 million,
yes.
I'm going now moving the issue of instructions.
Yes.
How many times did you carry out instructions? And what do you advise those who are carrying out instructions?
Personally, and science teachers, on behalf of science teachers, I've never seen science teachers actually carrying out industrial action.
You never put tools down?
As science teachers? No.
How did you handle? Because it's a good experience maybe to those who are in the union.
You see, even laying down our tools, it was a painful decision, by the way, which I wanted the country to understand. We have always emphasized this. It was a painful decision. But we were forced, because we are seeing students were home for 2 years. They have just come back. Then you lay down tools. That really is very bad. And I want you to know that teachers love their students. They like these students more than even the parents, because we even spend more time with them than the parents. I hope you understand that. And the pride of the teacher is when the students excel. Not only in getting good grades, but also in having the skills. If you participate in transforming them, you feel very happy, and that's our joy. Even sometimes with the low pay, that's why it has existed for some good time. But teachers continue to deliver because we feel that is our pride, deliver and the students perform. But now to lay down tools, we were tired, doctor, to tell you the truth. You go and study science at university, plus education. Somebody comes and says, you are not a scientist. Will you continue delivering? Well, number two, government chooses to enhance salaries for all scientists. They get yours, you the science teacher, they divert it. Will you be happy? They pay you for 3 months. They withdraw the pay and force you to pay back in the form of a loan, and you take 3 months without pay. Will you remain teaching? Now, you spend 3-4 years in that kind of agony. Now, in the 4th year, the deliverer comes. The government, in this case, chooses to put a policy that we are going to enhance salaries for all, but we are starting with scientists. They provide funds, and you see again these funds being diverted. What do you do? We tried to negotiate with government. Within all those 3 years, the 4, we were engaging government until there was no way out. And that's why we decided to lay down our tools. And the government understood our point.
So now the government understood your point. That's where I start from. We will continue in our interaction. The government understood your point and increased you the salary.
Yes, please.
As a policy analyst, there's what we call value for money, return of investment. The government locates now over, you wanted the 400 billion, it goes to where it's supposed to be.
Yes.
But as we continue moving along the way, especially, to have a registered, a remarkable, I'm still dealing with the issue of best performance.
Yes.
You find that this is some really realistic story, which some teachers who are not also serious in ensuring that they deliver, but yet they are getting this money. And some, they end up even going to do other businesses, which is not bad in terms of having any other source of income. But their concentration capacity still remains questionable. And at the end of the day, as I was mentioning, some of the schools which they belong to, you talk about schools like Mwiri, which was among the top. You could go to Busoga, you talk about Mwiri. One time there's even one attempted to go there to look for a vacancy. Because Mwiri was Mwiri College. And when you could reach there, even your mind, you are thinking as if like now you are going to heaven. You talk about schools like King's College, Budo, they have maintained the standard.
Yes.
You talk about those other schools.
Actually, the majority have maintained the standard.
Yes, majority. That one I may reserve it because I look at Makobole. The good thing you also come from West Makobole.
Those are few.
We are looking at Makobole. Maybe you'll mention more others.
No,
and if I go to in the north, there's one which was about something college. Really,
those are still few.
Where you are talking about that these schools are few, and these schools were among the first 10. Because when you could, the schools I'm mentioning, sir, those are the schools when you could mention the first 10. And we used to mention during our time of studies, first world schools. They are those who have lost that mark. And after losing this mark, where I'm emphasizing that now time has come to the government stakeholders as we are looking at the revival of the public schools, because we want to admit where there is a gap, we admit it's there.
Yes.
And where there is a credit, I'm not shying out to say there is a credit. There must be our call and the call of the viewers, which we are giving to you, there must be performance.
Yes.
And while calling for this performance, I'm giving an observation which is as a recommendation as well. There must be a way to sign with you contracts. Much as you are permanent and pensionable, you may alter, you may refute.
Doctor.
You may refute. I will give it back to you even if you may not agree with me. It's an observation. So that when you are not able to deliver, because it is part of the industrial action, when they say that they give you half pay, where they say that they demote you, there are also some implication. Because dear viewers and fellow teachers outside there, I'm your fellow teacher. It will not also work when you want a high pay, you'll be paid very well, but yet you can also not deliver 100% and it is known you are not doing well. What do you want to say as we go for the break? We will build on that point.
The issue of contract, Doctor. I have had people mention.
Yes.
I have had people mention about contract, but of course that's the system of government. It chooses how to do things. But the people are already on the. I don't think this pay is what should trigger changing the system of employment. We are bound to make mistakes also, because this space still, it has come, yes, but it's not the best even comparatively in East Africa.
Thank you. Your view on that. So, let's go for the commercial break. But yeah, the guests want to talk about that issue of pay and value for money. Want to have that discussion. Value for money. As you are paid, you want also results. We appreciate you for your continuous service. And those who are viewing us, stay tuned on Smart 24 TV as we come back for another session.